I was like 3, 2. All right. So
Well,
for
hold on.
me,
Oh, well, hold on, hold on.
go
Let
ahead.
me give you that wonderful intro because I'm going to tell you
Okay.
right now. We already spoke to Dutch. We
Yes.
already spoke to the enigmatic, charismatic TJ.
Yes.
Now, as I said on the radio before on our last episode, we're now going to speak to the dignified and classy part of the triple threat of the voice from the underground because he's always got those awesome cigars that just from
Yes.
all over. He is the man indeed from the voice from the underground. You got to check out their podcast today. That's going to be available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and so many other different outlets. It is one of my good friends. I'll tell you what, it is just so great to have him here to complete the trifecta. It is Haas from the underground, Haas from Voice from the Underground. Always great to have you on the show, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
I'm doing well, doing well.
Good.
Another
Good. Good.
late day here in Las Vegas. It's getting hotter and hotter. My goodness, the
I
afternoons
love
are.
it.
I'll tell you what, it's Vegas is getting hot and heavy. NBA playoffs are going strong. A lot of
Right.
action going there. A lot of money they lost from Tiger Woods. Oh well, too bad. So sorry.
Right.
But you know what? Hey, it's all good here in Vegas. But there's a huge thing coming up. In fact, there's a lot of people taking bets on it, and that is who will live and who will die, who will live and who will die in Avengers Endgame coming up this week. And I know you have some great Marvel memories to touch upon when it comes to everything that's going on out there with the past 10 years, the 22
Right.
different movies. What are your thoughts as far as some favorite Marvel memories and how it leads into Avengers Endgame?
Well, I mean, for me, it all starts with Iron Man. Um, that movie kind of like the first one when it came out, I was just like, wow, this is really good, and had a lot of anticipation just for the next Iron Man movie. And then when you started seeing how they interlaced the movies and started introducing new characters, it was just something really good to see. And I think my favorites, initially were Iron Man. Uh, when they introduced the Hulk with Mark Ruffalo, correct?
That's correct.
Yes, that's
Yes.
his name. I sometimes I blank on his name, but I really liked him. I liked the Hulk character, and it's interesting to me how he kind of mellowed and even got a little insecure as the movies went along. You know what I mean?
Well, he seemed
And
a little bit more fallible than the other two actors, Eric
yes,
Bana and Edward Norton, who played it before him.
yes, yes. So I can't remember if he got disintegrated in the snap or not.
No, no, he's very much alive.
That's what I thought.
He's all over the trailers. He's the
Yeah,
one that in his meek. I don't want to say meek, but in I guess going back to fallible, he's the
yeah,
one that's telling the Avengers, "Well, we're going to go into this underhanded. We're going to go into
right,
this shorthanded. We're not
right,
sure we're going to pull this out. I don't know if I
right.
can get Hulk back." So
And you know something with that, that's what I'm looking to see him get that dog back in him. So that's, I mean, and I don't think a lot of people, I think a lot of people are looking, oh, how's Captain Marvel going to play into this? How's Thor going to play into this? Da 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 da. I, on the other hand, well, okay, honest confession here, Hulk is my favorite superhero of all time.
I think you were
Okay,
leaning towards it.
yeah, yeah, and to solidify and so I'm not bullshitting. I have a Hulk magnet on my refrigerator that I've had since I was 6 years old. It was in my grandmother's house in Chicago on Parnell. I used to go visit my grandmother every weekend. In my room, one of the door frames was metal, had a Hulk magnet on the door frame. When she sold the house 7 years ago, I said, "You better get me my Hulk magnet before you move this. Don't throw that away. I want it." And it is now on the refrigerator at my new house that I just moved into a couple weeks ago. And I'm going to be 47 in July. So I've had that magnet for 41 years.
My
That's
goodness.
how deep I am in the Hulk game. So it's not a game, everybody. It's real. My
It,
Hulk love is real.
there you
Um,
go.
so for me, because I love the Hulk, and I am seriously looking forward to him getting his nuts back and coming out super hard in this movie. As at a certain point, I just feel like the switch is got to flip, and he's gonna be like, you know what? Fuck the bullshit. Let's go. And I think Hulk is going to have. I hope, I'm anticipating Hulk having a more aggressive and a role in that, in a battle, probably with Thanos, maybe to weaken him so that they can do what they need to do. But I feel like because they've kind of muted him, because his arc has muted over the last few movies, I feel like he is going to have a triumphant return and hopefully play a significant role in the defeat of Thanos, if that is where the arc is going to go on the story. Are they going to defeat Thanos? I think so. I think that he is going to have a resurgence and a re-emergence. He's going to be the comeback player of the Marvel Universe in Endgame. And I feel like it won't be like Hulk gets in a machine or gets into something and that's how he gets it. I think that he comes back, and he comes back with such a vengeance that he's even weakening Thanos in order for the other Avengers to do what they have to do. And so with my correlation to the movies, it's just Hulk has been on this downward arc as far as not wanting to fight, kind of being just kind of insecure. I just feel like he's just been insecure and just not sure of his Hulkness. At certain points, it was almost like he was like, I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to be the Hulk anymore. Not understanding that the Hulk is necessary. You know what I mean? And I feel like because the David Banner character is trying to suppress him, and Hulk himself, even when he does come out, in the last few movies, when he does come out, as soon as he gets a little adversity, he's like, oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping and anticipating that he is going to have a supreme resurgence and really drop bombs on Thanos and help weaken him or even help defeat him 100%. Maybe, they get the gauntlet off of Thanos, and while they're trying to pry the stones off or something like that, he's the one putting the smackdown on Thanos and keeping him away from the other characters who are trying to dismantle that gauntlet.
And it's interesting because they've had to tell the latter part of his story in a 3-movie arc between Thor Ragnarok, also as well Avengers Infinity War, and then going back to Avengers Age of Ultron.
Yes.
That's how they could really correlate his story arc in this point of time, because they're limited in what they can do because Universal still owns the rights as far as a solo movie is concerned.
Right.
So they will not give it to Marvel, at least at this point in time.
That's some bitch assness on their part, but that's okay. I mean, why are you going to hold them on the shelf and not do anything with them, Universal?
Exactly. I think him and Namor. I think Namor is also up in the air. That's why we haven't seen him. And I know because the early days of the Marvel universe, he was a very, very integral part of that.
Right.
And I know a lot of people are asking. I think he is also, even after the Fox merger, I think he is still up in the air along with Hulk as far as his future, but I don't think he can be even used in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, period. I think he is just that's his issue with Namor. So I know a lot of people always ask about him, but with Hulk, I'm so glad that they were still able to tell his story. They just had to piece it up because they couldn't do a solo.
They couldn't do a standalone, right?
No,
which was a shame. Which was a shame. He deserves his own thing, but that's how it is. That's how that's the politics of the movie game, I guess.
Yes, that it is. So I want to ask you.
Oh, go ahead.
So I want to ask you. You have this great affinity for the Hulk, and you think that there is going to be a comeback and him playing a major role during the course and the events of what takes place in Avengers Endgame.
Right.
Do you see him living or dying? As far as a definitive answer, because there are, like I said earlier, we're in Vegas. There's some places out there in the universe that's taking bets on Hulk and Captain America and
Right.
Iron Man on kicking the bucket in some form or fashion during the course of
Uh-huh.
Avengers Endgame. But do you see his character getting that, like you said, that triumphant return? Where do they go from there? Because again, we're limited by what Universal has on him,
Right.
and they're limited by what Marvel's limited by what can do with the character going forward.
Well, from a fan perspective and from a fan of the movie series perspective, I think that because he's been on such a downward type of spiral, um, I think that in the switch, I think he lives because it would be so predictable. It would be so predictable to be able to go ahead and kill him off. It'd be like, oh well, we saw that coming a mile away because he hasn't really been doing much in the last few movies. You know what I mean? So I think, and maybe there's some things that we don't know. Maybe there's some negotiations that have taken place, and they're going to be able to develop his character more and actually allow him to have this triumphant return and have that maybe be the start of more, for him. And maybe they do like maybe it's not a standalone Hulk movie, but maybe it's Hulk and someone else kind of pairing up. So they do a lot more. They can do a lot of like development of the other character that's paired with him in an adventure as well. But I don't think from a fan perspective that it would be a good idea to kill him off because it'd just be so cliche to do. If you're gonna kill off characters, you kind of want them to be surprises. So I would think like an Iron Man, that might be a surprise. Captain America, wasn't he waffling back and forth whether he wanted to keep doing it anyway?
Yeah,
So it's like
absolutely.
that wouldn't be a surprise. You know what I mean? I think that maybe let's see. I'm trying to remember all the people that got snapped out, but maybe I
Well,
think
first, well, you got Vision, you got
yes.
you got Vision, Scarlet Witch, Black
Hmm.
Panther,
Right.
uh, Doctor Strange, most
Right.
of the Guardians of the Galaxy, Winter Soldier, Falcon.
Hmm.
It's been pretty much already said that Winter Soldier, Falcon, they're getting their own Disney Plus series. We're
Okay.
pretty darn sure that Black Panther 2 is coming around the corner at
Right.
some
So
point
he's
in
got to
time.
come back. Right.
He's got to come back. Doctor Strange 2 has already also been talked about in development. Black
Right.
Widow, there's a story that she is going to be having her own movie as early as next year. Whether or not that takes place in the past, that still remains to be seen because there are
Right.
heavily rumors that might take place in the past, which still could put her in line to get killed. But then you
Right.
also have Scarlet Vision and also excuse me,
Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch and Vision. They're
Hmm.
going to have their own series on Disney Plus, and Hawkeye even is going to have his own series on Disney Plus. So he
See
may
now,
not.
it's crazy to me about Hawkeye because it's just like I feel like he's the weak link.
Well, he's the
He's
only
the
one that doesn't have any super sauce.
Yeah.
He
It's
doesn't
like
have any super.
I don't have a much of a care for Hawkeye. So it's odd to me that they would even do a series on him. But maybe they're trying to develop something and maybe develop a following to pop out a movie later or something like that.
Well,
But I'm
they
not sure.
will. Well, Kevin Feige did say that they're going to go ahead and tell part of the next series, the next phase of the Marvel
Hmm.
Cinematic Universe is going to be told through these series with Disney Plus. So the
Okay.
Loki series, the Hawkeye
Yeah.
series, all those other series I mentioned, a
Yeah.
little bit of that will either have characters or plot lines that will intertwine with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which
Yeah.
actually is a one up from what we've seen with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Netflix series as well.
Right. And you know something, this is just a big old that all these Disney Plus series, that's just a big old ploy to get people to watch their series so that then they can kind of have an idea of what's going on when the next movie comes out. Fucking assholes. I don't want Disney Plus, man. I guess I would. I guess I would want
It's
it, but
cheaper than it's gonna be cheaper than Netflix.
right, right. I'm gonna have to see if I can gerrymander a way to get it for cheaper than cheap. That free 99 action. But I'm hoping that what they'll do is pair up Hulk. If Universal won't just relinquish their rights or get bought out or something. I hope that what they do is they They pair Hulk up, so then that way it's not like his own solo thing, but they're able to flesh him out a little bit more and give him some more stuff. Because I like Hulk. I like him. You know, the angrier he gets, the more powerful he gets. I just love that. I love that control rage and the interplay between himself and David Banner, kind of a Jekyll and Hyde type thing. You know, so I'm hoping that he makes it out. But the politics are what they are. So maybe, you know, Universal's going to say, well, we're going to do something with him now. So, you know, kill him off there in Marvel, and then we'll bring him out in a Universal thing, which would probably not be as good. So
No. Once again, I am with Haas from the Voice from the Underground. You got to check out his show each and every day, or each and every week when it comes out.
Each and every week. Yep.
With new episodes that come out on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so many other different podcast outlets. One last question I got to ask you, my friend. I know you're excited for Endgame. I know you guys at the VFU are going to be talking some Endgame, but you got to tell everybody again, Dutch did, and so did TJ. But I got to hear your words on why nobody needs to, nobody can miss the VFU podcast.
All right. Well, see, here's the thing with our podcast. It's so loosely scripted that it ends up being so organic, because we have a script, we have where we want to go, but we very rarely go that way. So, you know, like, for instance,
and I've seen these scripts. Scripts.
Yes. So, for instance, you know, when we post our podcast, you know, we'll put up some of the highlights of what we've talked about. But for me, I think as a listener, I would be more a fan of listening for the tangents, the curves, the dips and dives, and those things that are just so organic and in the moment that it just really makes you feel like you're sitting in the living room with us, or you're sitting, you know, you're driving the car and we're in the back seat just having this conversation. So I think that the off the cuff, the organic, unscripted portions of the show that don't necessarily get, you know, illuminated in like the subject line of our show, I think those things just lead to build a bond and an affinity with our listeners that other shows that maybe stick more religiously to their scripts don't have. So you really get a conversational feel, like we're just sitting around a table having a beer, and you're kind of a fly on the wall for this conversation. And everybody loves to be a fly on the wall for, you know, organic, stimulating conversations that range from the very, very serious to very, very lighthearted, and everything in between. So I think that is why the VFU has a little something for everybody out there, because we're going to touch on subjects that may not make it to we're going to talk about X, Y, or Z when we do our little promo, when we post the podcast. There's so many little nuggets in between that fall in between those tent poles that are really interesting, that are really funny. I don't know how many times we've heard comments from listeners saying, you know, what was really funny was this, and it wasn't one of the main topics. It was something that we ended up going into. So I think that is really what draws our listener to us, and new listeners need to listen in for.
Oh, that's awesome. Once again, it is the Voice from the Underground, the podcast. You got to check it out. Again, it's all over the internet. It's available right now on Podbean, Apple Podcast, Spotify, a million other podcast catchers. If you're into politics, you're into sports, you're into pop culture, they combine all three. They just go all over the place with some great conversation, big time laughs, and the way
and you're going to learn about your cigars too.
Yes.
You're definitely going to learn about what cigars. Summertime is here. The deck and the pool are perfect times to get your cigar on, have a little puff, drink a little beer or a little bourbon, and relax and listen to the podcast over the summer.
Sometimes it's you guys just laughing it up. Sometimes it's you guys double teaming on Dutch and him.
Oh yeah, we got to get him sometimes, but that's okay. He takes it in stride.
He does. He does. He's a great man, and all three, you're awesome. If yeah, like you said, there's even a note of cigars that you go ahead and bring out on each and
Right.
every episode for the public out there, and they just seem to love it as well. So once again, it is the Voice from the Underground, the podcast. Check it out today, because Haas, TJ, and Dutch make a great team, and you guys also make a great podcast.
Thank you.
I just can't thank you, my friend, for being on the show enough.
Not
Just
no problem
awesome.
at all. That's an honor.
Every time you're on is awesome. TJ, Dutch, you, and just, I know we're all excited for Endgame. You know,
Right.
when you get a chance to see it, let me know. Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. And you know what?
Of
You're
course.
always welcome back on the show to share your thoughts on anything pop culture, including Endgame as well.
Sounds great.
All right. Thanks, my friend, for being part of the pop culture cosmos.